The future of Wisconsin's election maps are up in the air this weekend. Plus, the debate over Wisconsin's abortion law heats up in Sheboygan. CBS 58's Emily Fannin, West Politics editor J.R. Ross discuss that and more in tonight's Capital Connection.
We begin with the biggest story of the week, and that is the state Supreme Court has ruled the state legislative maps are unconstitutional. Now, this was a move that didn't really catch a lot of Republicans and Democrats by surprise, given that the court is now controlled 4-3 by liberals. But this is by no means going to be the last step here. JR, as we know, Republicans are likely going to go to the U.S. Supreme Court to challenge this. All
right, so what I'm watching for are two things, right? Number one, what's the map going to look like? So we know the map is unconstitutional according to the Supreme Court. Now we have to have a new map. What those lines look like, how they benefit Democrats. Number two, can Republicans get the U.S. Supreme Court to step in and halt the proceedings in Wisconsin? Republicans are going to base this on a decision out of West Virginia years ago. The U.S. Supreme Court said a justice was basically too compromised to hear that case. Can they use that case to argue that the Democratic Party of Wisconsin giving Janet Prosewicz $10 million this campaign is enough to say she shouldn't have sat on the case? Now, some key differences between now and then. One, the money given in West Virginia was the bulk of the spending in that race. $10 million is a lot of money, but it's only a piece of the $56 million plus spent this spring in Wisconsin. So will they have the same standard? And two, the justices left on the court who ruled that case in West Virginia were all in the minority. They didn't want to have a standard. They didn't want to reject that guy being allowed to hear that case. Will they switch sides all these years later and say, no, this is not appropriate for Janet Prosewicz? That's a big if to get the Supreme Court to take that case.
We also learned this week that UW employees, roughly about 35,000 of them, will finally receive their pay raises after what was about a 6-month stalemate between Assembly Speaker Robin Vos and the UW system as they were trying to hash out this deal over curtailing DEI, and in return they would get $800 million for those pay raises and building projects. The question now going forward is, I asked Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, do you plan to use this negotiation tactic in the future? He wants to look at state agencies and DEI. Will he possibly try to withhold funding in the next state budget? He said, well, it's a little too soon to say, but it's still an option on the table, he said.
Yeah, there's going to be more wrangling, even with the package that was approved by the regents and that Robin agreed to. I'm going to watch for more tweaks. What I mean by that is, in talking to Vos, he said, we are not going to release that funding. Republicans aren't going to release that funding in the package until there are two bills in that package. One's about tuition reciprocity with Minnesota. One's about guaranteed admissions for high school students. Until it's signed into law, we're not going to release the money. We're not going to have joint finance come in the committee and release $32 million. And then what I'm watching is, once those bills are put into the floor, will Robin and Republicans trying to add more oversight provisions, more things that give them a little more, kind of like a little more claw into how things are being run or how this is being processed with the system, University of Wisconsin system.
So in a sense, it's not even quite yet done yet. The finishing touches are not done.
A little more tweaks. Right. That's what I'm watching for.
And also this week, we learned a Republican district attorney is asking the state Supreme Court to take up his appeal directly, bypassing the lower appeals court. And this is related to the state's 1849 abortion ban. He's asking the court to do this immediately after a Dane County judge ruled that abortions are again legal here in Wisconsin.
Well, what he's arguing is that we can't wait for the normal process, which is circuit court, appeals court, then state Supreme Court. He's urging that the state needs clarity about the abortion law, what it means, and this court can provide that finality. Now, the big thing is, when the court gets it, whenever that is, could it decide that issue and put it to rest for Republicans? So let's just kind of think for a second. If the Supreme Court agrees to take it, and they don't have to, the justice can reject it. If they take it, they could issue a decision sometime, maybe the summer of '24. Would that fire the issue back up, or would it tamp it down? Because Republicans have struggled the ballot box ever since the Dobbs decision, trying to figure out a message with voters on abortion. Could this case maybe help put it to rest for them, or could it be more fuel for Democrats to have the win streak they've been having, in part because of abortion?
All right, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. All right, that will do it for this week. Thanks so much for joining us.